don't know if people believe me when I say this, but it's actually made me a less angry person. It's kind of like, let's say if I had a big wall of protection around me, especially when in the public eye, it's pretty much chiselled away at the wall bit by bit by bit and just broke me down completely till all that's left is just me as I am, raw. And it's actually chilled me out a lot. I've learnt a lot in this past year. It was very surreal. So they said I punched the air. Maybe I did. I don't know. I thought I burst into tears. I'm just sure I definitely did do that. Yeah. I just, it felt like it wasn't real. It felt like it was a bad dream. In that moment, I felt like the whole year, has it just been a dream? Yeah. It's so hard when you get yourself in the frame of mind to be able to handle and deal with the year you're going through. You just become numb. Like you're not allowed to let yourself go too up or too down. You just get yourself in a real numb, kind of cold position. You're like a zombie, pretty much. And then when you get told all of a sudden, not only do you have the opportunity to try and get your life back, but you can have your personality back as well. You just, really? You forget how to act. You've just become like numb. It's very common for, certain people and parts of the industry, and fortunately, I don't know, to break everyone's dreams, but they do dabble, and, there are people that do take cocaine openly within the industry. And it wasn't a surprise to me that this big movie producer was openly talking about, the fact that he did cocaine or dabbled with it. The whole point was, and the way they managed to so easily entrap me into acting a certain way, was because it was meant to be the first ever urban British role in that brought together Bollywood and Hollywood. So they wanted a ghetto, grimy chick from a council estate, with that whole persona, a tiny bit of what I had, portrayed as my urban image in the UK. So it was very hard for any kind of like high-profile actress to play that role, and you kind of can't really imagine Keira Knightley putting a hood up and getting some tats and being like, "You're white, mate," just doesn't really, you know what I mean? So their point was, it's such a hard role to play, and it would be so difficult for them to find a character to play that the reason that they were drawn to me is they assumed that I was that person, so therefore I wouldn't be acting. And this is how I got drawn into the whole kind of illusion of it. When you're being flown around the world and you're in Las Vegas and the biggest nightclub tables and massive bottles of champagne and limos picking you up and sweets. And
even for you, that was something.
Yeah, because they had money to spend. When you live that life, it's because you pay for it. When a company or a producer or someone's giving you all of that, it makes you think they're serious. They wouldn't spend the money unless they were serious. I wonder what experiences he's had in his life to lead him to be the person that he is and get him to the place where he is today, where he feels no remorse and honestly believes that, the people that he does this to deserve it. I feel it's very much a class thing with him.
Would you like to see him stand trial?
I definitely would. And I also feel like maybe this is his time to have his year of enlightenment, just like I've had mine.
And so you'd be prepared to give evidence in that trial if necessary?
Of course, just as he gave, what he classes evidence in mine.
And what do you make of the fact that he gave evidence from behind a screen?
Well, he has a lot of people that, I suppose, from what I hear, are out to get him. Some people are a lot more angry than I am about what he's done to them. I personally, because I've watched him, lie and know that he has, I feel like he doesn't deserve that protection. But I leave it in the hands of the universe at the end of the day. Well, firstly, I'd just like to say I do feel there's a difference between entrapment and a setup. And I feel not only was I entrapped, but I was set up. But I feel like it's wrong. I just feel like it's deeply wrong. Even in situations where the person has committed it after entrapment, has committed a crime, still, even then so, if that person would never have done that without you coming along and entrapping them, then you're creating crime. I mean, we have enough crime as it is in the world of today without people then going out and, going out of their way to then create crime and try and turn people that are not criminals into criminals. That has no logic to me. I don't see how anyone can find that morally correct. I just want a bit of righteousness in the world. And I just feel like, where have our morals gone? How can we sit back and accept this and think this is okay? So what kind of an example are we setting to, the next generation to say, hey, in this day and age, what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to go out and try and convince and manipulate or even set up people to make it look like they're criminals when they're not. And this is allowed.
And you'd like to see the Sun on Sunday closed down for that?
I mean, I always worry here because I'm like, God, legally, what am I getting myself into when I say things?
Opinion.
But as a personal opinion, yeah, I would. I think, look, there's bad sides and there's good sides. So on the Sun on Sunday, there could be a number of journalists, that, within that paper. And out of those journalists, there will be good ones, there will be bad ones, there will be honest ones, and there will be liars. So it's not a case of me having it in for everyone or being bitter towards everyone. I fully understand, as a journalist, you have to do your job. And there are a lot of journalists that I respect and have actually had my back throughout this. I don't hate the media. But I do feel that there are certain, if it's not closed down, then there are certain people that need to be removed from it. And those are the dishonest ones.
And given the Levinson inquiry recently, would you like to see stronger regulation on British press?
Most definitely. And for someone in the public eye, some human rights. I think it should be stopped altogether. I think there should be laws against it. I think it needs to happen. I just don't see how this can possibly be justified.
And if the Sun on Sunday was to do it again, you'd say, that's it, close it down?
Well, I would say whoever it is out there doing it and allowing it should be completely taken away from the paper. Maybe it needs a whole new setup, excuse the pun. Well, the funny thing is in the beginning, like, I panicked so much when I found out this had happened because I was like, oh my God, like, I'm really being set up here. This is really happening. How am I going to let people know the truth? And so it was my instinct to press record myself on my laptop and get a friend to come around with a camera. So I started filming things myself originally because I wanted to show people what was going on. And then the BBC approached me and I was told, look, we want to do this documentary, but it's a serious documentary and you're not going to have any control over it. This is us looking from our perspective and our point of view and, showing it how we see it. And that for me was very scary because I had to hand over the footage I'd already filmed and say, okay, this is what I've got and now it's in your hands. And because I'd already been set up, I was like, oh God, are you sure? Like, what's going to go on here? But in my heart, I knew if they were going to portray it fairly and how they saw it, I knew I didn't do anything wrong. So what could be the problem with it?
And that was the reason you agreed to do it, because you thought this will prove who I am?
Yeah, just show people how it is. And I wanted it to be fair. When you're trying to portray things from your side, you're always going to sound like everything's in your favour. So, okay, you take it out of my hands, you show people how it is.